right, Geek Yoga Podcast. Yeah, I'm Wade.
We're doing a promo.
Oh, shit.
Hi, everybody. This is Knock.
I'm Wave. Rah-rah.
And listen to us on the Geek Yoga Podcast every Wednesday. Yeah.
Facebook?
Yes. You
Facebook.
can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Geek Yogurt Podcast and on Twitter at Yogurt Podcast.
Spaghetti! Just Yogurt Podcast.
Yes, at Yogurt Podcast.
At Yogurt Podcast. I got nothing. I don't know what you want from me.
I wanted to cut a damn promo.
Well, fuck you then.
Welcome to Alien Theorist Theorizing, case file 15? 16. I guess this one is, we should call it on making a case for Flat Earth.
I think that's the Flat Earth, making a case for Flat Earth.
Making a case. So, first off, let's get in right into some space news. Oh, fuck, I fucked this up already. Guys, we can swear on this. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
Andrew.
Okay, first off, space news. Not much for space news today. Low chance of CMEs. It's been a pretty low solar season right now for seeing auroras. So, Zell, you had some news you want to touch on?
Well, there's reports coming in that a number of amateur astronomers have spotted an asteroid or comet slamming into Jupiter. If this is the case, I think it's like one of the only few times it's happened.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can see video footage on YouTube. Search it up. Pretty cool to watch.
Cool.
Okay, let's get right into it.
Yep.
This is exciting. Our first guest that we don't know. So, perfect. Today we have two friends on. You want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Todd. I'm one of the creators behind Flat Earth Hub.
And who'd you bring with you here?
I'm Tori.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no worries. I'm the other founder to the Flat Earth Hub.
Okay, cool. So where you guys... Tell us about yourself. How'd this get started? Where is it going? Where did it begin?
Well, for myself, about 10 months ago, I saw a clip on YouTube that Obama came out and talked about Flat Earth Society. And that kind of caught me off guard because I didn't think a president of the United States, especially we know his scripts are scripted, would come out and say something like that. So it kept my interest. And you always see that video on the side. You're too embarrassed to click.
Yeah.
Right? It says Flat Earth, but you're just not going to click it because that's way out there. But Obama actually is the one who made me click one of those videos. And after watching that video, there were some great points made. I was like, no, I can easily debunk this. So I actually took the role on for 2 months because I'm a matric student out of high school. I loved science. I still love science. Followed CERN, all this stuff. But when you start to go back and actually research beyond what our teachers tell us, you start to see that actually what's being brought up has to be reviewed again. And the more that breaks apart, you start to realize that we have to actually go back and actually ask these questions for everybody's sake. Because we're tripping around on people's theories right now. And so anyway, 2 months in, I finally just said, that's it. There's just too much evidence this way. My foundations are made of sand because basically I don't got nothing to stand on. I used to debate when I was younger. And the first thing our teacher told us to do is learn your opponent and what they want to debate. That way you can find all the holes. And I tried to do that. And there's no holes. And the evidence actually we keep, now 8 months later, I've been researching 10, 16 hours a day, every day. And the evidence we're proposing and showing people right now basically points to a flat Earth.
So you guys have a YouTube channel where people can go and view all your videos. So where can people who are interested at this point go and view some of your videos? We had a colossal meltdown again, as per usual.
You don't have to say that.
You blew it.
You don't have to say that at all.
You just gave it away.
Well,
Always.
I'm full disclosure here.
Too honest.
We're not lying here on the podcast.
Yeah, no
so.
conspiracies are bred in here.
If you saw a noise cut, that's because someone fucked up. wasn't me, wasn't Andrew,
Wasn't
our
me.
two guests.
We'll just leave it at that.
Okay, so where can we find your YouTube channel and stuff?
So yeah, again, YouTube, all across the board, all over social media, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, our website, and YouTube. We're all connected with the name Flat Earth Hub. So yeah, you can go into pretty much any of our social media today and find us.
Yeah, and I also did the Google Analytics, I think it's called, because I do websites as a hobby. So our site's now popping up on the first page on Google if you search in the area. So
Nice.
Nice.
Sweet.
And a question before we melt down is, are you guys one of the larger flat Earth groups?
well, right now, recently we've actually picked up a lot of steam. We've only actually had our YouTube channel up for under 2 months,
Well,
just
a
about
little
2
over
months,
2 months.
or maybe just a little bit over. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
And as of today, or this morning, last time we checked, it was 815 followers already,
Nice.
and over 38,000 views,
Yeah.
totaling over, I think it was 200 and some
And our
minutes worth of watch.
and our like to dislike ratio is through the roof as well. Like we have likes for days compared to dislikes. So
Well, that's good, right?
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
for sure. You
yeah,
just
no, the
you definitely
channel
want that kind of
is a
feedback.
really good response.
So, are you guys in touch with other members of this flat Earth community, and where
Oh, most
are
definitely.
these people located?
All over the world. Actually, on our website, we have a spot. It's called Location, and we encourage people that want to that come out of the closet, because it's like anything else. You know, you might have family members that might ridicule you, but some people, when they come out, they'll actually want to start to join up, which we find. And we have an area on our site that's connected with the Google Maps and that to actually for them to send information in, and we could start plotting them on there. Not to say that's the entire community, because they're
it's
not
a
all
small
that.
fraction.
It's a
Start, yeah.
very, very small
Yeah.
fraction. We just started this, a couple months ago, so.
Well, we can contest that there's a large group of people who
There's
love
gonna be a lot
conspiracies
larger,
and,
yeah,
and this kind of
Absolutely.
stuff. So let's get right into the thick of it. What are some facts? What are some facts that you guys feel that we've been lied to, or what are some things that you guys feel prove flat Earth theory?
Well, one of the ones that we just released a video with last night is the curvature, and the curvature has been talked about and disputed, and
One of the
there's
biggest
been
debates in flat
biggest
Earth.
debates, and people are knocking each other about the measurement isn't done this way, it's done this way, and yet you can't find. And this is the funny thing: go and try to find the actual answer from, say, the government or a university. It's not there. You're actually going to find that everybody's talking from a forum or talking from their own site, so they can't get the credibility that we would want from saying, say, a scientist saying, nope, this is the calculation, this is how you work your curvature of the Earth. But you can actually take, the radius of the Earth and figure it out yourself. So the radius is over 6,000 kilometers from the center out. If you're standing at the pole, went 6,000 kilometers out, that would be the equivalent down, because we just draw a box.
Yeah.
So we can figure this out. I'm going to post a video later on this, because it's rising again, because they're trying to talk about this sun arc or whatever on their measurement. So they're really trying to confuse the whole subject. But where the curvature, like last night, we posted a video where we found footage from High Shot. It's a joint program with Australia back in the 60s, where they shot up a rocket with a plane in the nose, and it went up to 300 kilometers high. And then they actually had a camera in that nose, so when the plane took off, they were filming it leaving the rocket. And you could clearly see the straight horizon of the Earth. You could see the sun's a lot closer than what they say.
I think our biggest argument right now is NASA. People are catching on that NASA is definitely lying to us, because
It's never a straight answer.
yeah, it's never a straight answer. They keep changing their stuff. Most of them look like actors. I actually did a video on Scott Kelly, and you listen to this guy talk. He does not sound like an astronaut at all. Astronaut, maybe, but yeah. Anyway,
Nice.
You look at Scott Kelly and the way he speaks. He doesn't sound like someone who knows his shit, or who's been to space. Like his year in space, it didn't sound like a guy. He was walking on his own 2 feet. You'd think after a year in space, you'd be like a little wobbly, just a little off, right? And no, nothing in this guy, his speech, his physical action, nothing suggested that he was in space for a year.
Well, and also, sorry.
Anyway, NASA is I think one of our biggest proofs, because why would they be lying? Why would they be sending us fake images of space, lying about space, if it's there, right? They can just simply give
So
us the
how
the
do you?
facts that we-
So how would
Yeah.
you guys explain if? So you're saying that images from space are doctored?
Oh, they are.
Yes.
And
Like
actually,
all of them?
well, yeah, they pretty much are. They are actually lying with what even their first one back in 1972, which everybody that what's
The blue ball.
surprising is that picture actually was the only picture everybody saw until just recently when they actually went and produced some more images as of last year when this whole topic starts to get hot. And if you look at their new image to their old image, the continents are different sizes. So either they lied now or they're lying then. But if they're lying at all, then they're lying overall, in my opinion. Plus the fact that we got footage, and I just released it, it's called NASA is Busted. We got footage of them even saying it's fake. We got them saying the astronauts getting rich right from their voices in that time frame, because you got to remember, these guys back then probably weren't thinking we're going to have the technology today to review their footage.
And a good way to check if these images are fake is you can take this image or any space image, you put it into Photoshop, lower down your filters, and if you see any kind of discrepancy in it, it is not a photo, right? 'Cause
So
a photo would not have.
I have a question here because I saw some of your videos on this, so then I started looking up, and recently it's been gaining popularity with a lot of elementary schools and stuff for science projects. Is they send weather balloons up with GoPros and attached cameras.
Right.
Recently, there was one with a grade 5 class that had the picture of the grade 5 class. It showed their picture of Earth. Now, it's obviously not in a total picture, but in the corner, I would say, like with my two eyes, I can see a curvature. Now, would you say that that's a hoax? And how far does that go?
Todd can answer this one.
Yeah. So with GoPro cameras, it's really hard to tell, or really hard to get an accurate picture of a horizon because they have the fisheye lens, right?
Yeah.
So there are different lenses you can get for the GoPro camera, but the most popular ones have curves on them. And if you notice video footage in the curve, it not only curves the photo when the camera is moving up and down, it concaves the image as well. So when we see the GoPro looking down at the horizon, it concaves. The image starts to concave. And when the GoPro rises, the image starts to curve. So right there, that's already screwing with your eyes and with the actual validity.
We know what you're talking about here, right?
Validity of the image, right? Because it's being doctored by the lens.
Yeah.
So
Well, and we just got some footage. It's all live from the Canadian French joint effort there.
CSA and French Space Agency.
So they sent it up 140,000 feet and
43 kilometers.
or 43. Yeah. Sorry, Todd knows more. He did
Yeah,
the
no,
video
I
on
did
it.
the video, but
Yeah.
So and you look at that, and they put a 360 camera on it.
they made a
and
360 degree
go-
camera.
I mean, if you
out
look
of
at that-
GoPros, actually, they used GoPros for it, but they did it in the correct way. They're using the center of the image, and they balanced out the structure that was floating up on the balloon so that it wouldn't move, and everything was tested so that it was like really perfect view of the video that they called it is called The Edge of Space.
Yeah.
And what's funny is after I downloaded that video, I found this footage. I was like, holy shit, this is golden footage. After I'd found it, within an hour, I went to go find the original link so I can post it to my description, or in my description for my YouTube video. The video was gone. It was disappeared. They took it off of their website. So it's almost like they tracked my IP, noticed I made the video on it or something. And once I had posted my video on YouTube, I looked back on the website. They added curve to their original video.
Yeah.
They added curve.
Yeah, there's actually
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
there is. You can see our video is the original.
Now, the
and
only-
you can
Have
see
the
the
original,
curve
I
is
can
added.
send it
The
to you
only
guys when
thing
we
I
get
would
back.
say that I don't like about that is the same reason you guys say that the other pictures with a GoPro. At that point, anything footage with a GoPro, I would say you have to call it admissible. If you're going to call it one way, you got to call it the other way.
That's where
you
I
can't,
go
it
back
can't be
to-
proof for you. It can't be proof against you.
That's
right?
where I think the argument has to sit at. What picture do we have at the highest off the Earth, right? So right now it stands at the new footage we just brought out, which is from 300 kilometers up, and it's still flat. How much higher do we have to go to prove? And plus the fact that the horizon in that footage is at your eye level.
It shouldn't be
300,
on
you
a
said
sphere.
300 kilometers? I thought you said 42 or something.
No,
Yeah,
three-
it's 43. Yeah.
43 for the balloon, but it's
Because
300
43 is still stratosphere. 300 is like, you're in space pretty much.
Well, the exosphere goes right out to 10,000 kilometers up outside. Actually, if you look at it all,
Exosphere,
yeah, the exosphere is the furthest.
Yeah,
one. It goes the
500 plus is exosphere.
Yeah, 500 to 10,000 if you actually look at it. So all the way out to 10,000, you're going to find molecules up in the air. I do a lot of research on this, so we have to.
They
we have
actually
to
just
know.
found organisms on the International Space Station.
Well,
Do you believe that?
the problem with that then is if you look at the X-15 that made Mach 10. Now, at Mach 10, they have to be dropping at 1,100 feet per minute. That plane
So
has to
nose
fly
down
straight
the whole way.
or it would have burnt up because it already, when it came down, was smoldering hot and half the things that were sticking off of it were melted. So, and the ISS is going Mach 14 in comparison. So if it's going through the exosphere, which it only travels between about 406 and 416 kilometers high, so it puts it right at that edge between the shift, because they say, and they balance, they say it's 250 to 500 before the exosphere starts. So they really gave themselves grace. But
So hold on, just real quick. Let's clarify this right now. Do you guys think the ISS is up there, or is it not?
no,
up
it's
there?
definitely not up there.
Okay, so here's something I've always been interested in doing. If you get a ham radio, while the ISS is in your night sky, you can talk to the ISS. Are they saying that? Is it that deliberate that they're tracking and someone is monitoring that kind of stuff? Where so it's not in the sky, but as it's coming over your sky, someone's like, okay, yeah, cue ham radio signals.
Well, the thing is they can do that because everything is done off of radio waves. And if you look, there is actually, the United States put up a tower in 1953, tallest radio tower in the world at the time. And they announced that day, they have I posted it on one of our videos, the clip of it. They come out and say that they can now send a radio signal around the world in 1/10 of a second from that one radio tower. And that one radio tower also talked to submarines all over the world. That is impossible on a globe if you go look at radio waves and how they travel.
So to the question he was...
But where it comes down to your question with the ISS, we do have, and you can look at when they first started even laying the cables underneath the oceans back in the 1800s. They've been building since the late 1800s a radio network on this world. And that radio network is actually what they can totally fake a signal coming through that. When you're driving with your radio station, you get only so far before it disappears. They can reverse that same kind of feeling to you by pumping in the signal and having it move across their towers across the earth. It would be no difference than, triangulating where you are. They can actually just send out a signal within a triangulation.
So you're
and
saying
move it
that
across.
there's somebody that is constantly monitoring the kilometers per second of how that signal would travel, and they'd only let it come through at that
Right.
time. is what
Okay,
you're saying.
Exactly.
so then in that case, this has kind of got off flat Earth a little bit, but this is
it's all
super
about
intriguing.
flat
Yeah.
Earth, actually.
So the ISS goes over sky. There's apps to track it, and you
Right.
can watch it go
got
in the
something for
night
you.
night sky. You can track it.
That doesn't work anymore, Todd. Actually, they fixed
Oh, it
it.
doesn't? They did fix it?
So as you go in the night sky, you can watch it, and you can physically watch what they say
Yeah.
is the air quotations going across the night sky. And for that matter, they can track satellites. Now, are there satellites in is it just not the manned spacecraft, or are you guys saying all
Well,
satellites
there's
entirely?
actually there's photographs coming out, and there's some good theories around what we're actually seeing. It could be a mock-up U-2 spy plane because those things were sent up quite high. All of our aerial shots are probably done from high altitude drone
Drones.
planes. Because if you look at NASA's budget, they invested heavily into the U-2 project, which was actually a governmental project for the spy planes. And you follow them along, and NASA's actually been joined at the hip about the spy stuff. They bought all the surplus stuff when they got out of it, when they moved into the drones, and they're now into the drones. So they could be having, because they talked to us about keeping flights up there now for months at a time with solar wings and stuff like that. What would it take to mock up a U-2
Or a drone
or a drone
flying
that would
in a certain path.
kind of put off the image of the shape of the ISS. Someone actually overlaid the ISS over U2. It actually does fit what we roughly see for the structure. They can easily just add a couple things off of that to fake anybody down on the ground. And has anybody taken a really high powerful telescope to zoom in on it? No one has yet. If you actually look, a lot of the pictures we're seeing, they look almost, remember those cards that have holograms on them? And you look at them
Talking
and
about Pokemon cards?
Oh,
yeah,
fuck,
well,
we
I don't
love
know.
Pokemon on the show.
But you,
Four
no, I'm
minutes.
just saying,
Four
that
minutes.
look,
Yeah.
that colorful look. That's what a lot of the images when you're looking at them, that's what they look like.
See, I just have a hard time seeing that one because with all the amount that you can track in the sky and physically watch on a clear night sky, go out, look,
We see a dot. I go out and look all the time too.
right? But now are you saying that this goes so deep that they would fly planes? Like they don't have
Well,
satellites,
of
they
course.
just
I
have
mean,
high
where
altitude
do you think they're
planes?
spending that money? They just got
It could
$18.5
be-
billion this year for their budget.
Yeah.
NASA could easily spend that kind of money to keep a fake.
Man, they gotta fake a they
So,
gotta fake a Mars landing this year, right?
I gotta ask. So if you don't believe there's a space station or satellites, I'm guessing.
Right.
No, definitely not.
No satellites at all.
Not sense of satellites up where they say they are. They could be having you look at Google. They have the Loon project, so they're putting up balloons right now to put through.
No,
our
I was
internet
gonna,
across the
I'm
world.
gonna ask.
Sorry.
So they're just faking all of the launches.
They're
just sending
all
them
spaces.
to
Actually,
Abyss.
all the space agencies are faking it, and there's a lot of good reasons
Why do you
behind this.
like? I'd like to hear some reasons.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
well-
you say like they're faking it, but that's just you.
Well, a
saying
lot of
they're
people
faking it, right?
say, well, no, they are faking it for a reason. They're using it as a front. Say you're
What's the-
say you're a mafia. You have a front business, and then you have what you're really doing, right? So NASA could be the front business, and same with any of these countries, bringing in that large amount of money. And what I think is happening is if we look back in time, we see some strange events with Disney. Disney came out as a theme park with Epcot. Do you guys know anything about Epcot?
Epcot,
The Tomorrowland.
yeah, Tomorrowland, yeah.
All that stuff. Okay, go really research that. He actually brought in all the companies like Monsanto's built in there. All these big names got in on this. Coca-Cola, Ford Company. I put a video out. It's a 3-part series on Disney and the connection to this. And you should see the stuff they were preaching back in 1969. And it's a very eerie feeling because it doesn't feel like they're actually talking to you and I. They're talking to their investors.
So
So what if they needed some money from society to build away these Epcot centers? And we hear these stories about bases and underground tunnels all over the place. We're hearing these weird noise stories, that are up in the air, which I think are from them blowing up bombs under the ground, and that's the whistling.
So
or
to
whatever
keep
we
it
heard.
short,
Yeah.
I feel like yes, all space agencies are all in it together. We can't really say for sure it is, but we've noticed so many different like fakeries going on in different space stations that it's hard to think that
Well,
they
we
aren't
have-
all into it. You
So
know?
countries that are potentially like at war with each other or
They're not.
right on the brink of war are at this together.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's actually
What
it's
are,
a world.
what are the
Great
other
example.
what are these other space agencies though? Like which
Well, the
ones?
Russian Space
The
Agency, ESA, all of them. And actually, if you look at ESA,
Chinese,
those guys, they have
Indian.
a lot of issues with the stuff they've actually put out. We got some footage where it's from ESA, from the ISS, where the Earth layer disappears from the footage for a amount of time. So
okay, so I just thought of something here. So if there is no satellites, GPS was created by two guys getting lucky.
no, you're wrong. The GPS was created out of the DOT. It was actually, if you look back,
Department of Defense.
you can't go back to the original creators because DOD stops you from looking any
Department of
further back.
Defense.
But if you look in DOD, their budget requirements from pulling stuff from Senate and stuff like that, they actually invested a huge amount of money into the Loran system. And if you go look at the Loran system, was actually the GPS of the time.
Yeah.
And they use triangulation of the towers, which they're still running today. Like, it's quite funny, that tower I told you about down, 1953, they just actually went in for a budget request to keep it operational to 2040.
So then what you're saying is GPS essentially works by not relaying the distance between you and a satellite, but your distance between cell towers.
You can actually go pull up the Time Warner video. They even tell you about, it's called back cabling. And they actually back cable from all these cell towers back to the main hubs, and everything is triangulated through
But
that.
GPS was long before cell phones, right?
Yeah,
So
no, it was.
So
It was with Loran system. If you go look, you got to research Loran to see the similarities of the two
I'm gonna
systems.
have
I can like I know from work areas where I will not, there are no cell towers. When I was working up rurally, right past Caramees and stuff like that, we still got GPS reception, right? We'd still plug it in and it would still show us where to go. We had no cell reception. We were all CB.
Have you seen how they hide the towers though? And actually, Time Warner says they
so-
go 500 kilometers into where there might be a small community to lay towers.
But why wouldn't they give you cell service then though? Like
Sorry?
why wouldn't you still get cell service?
Yeah, that doesn't
Like
make
if
sense.
it's about making money, why wouldn't you still allow people to have cell service if you can triangulate their position by these towers, by like these even secret cell towers? What would be the point in not giving people, giving me my 3G? I want to check Facebook.
Yeah, no, but they haven't got it everywhere. The coverage isn't all around yet. They've got planes that aren't tracked in the southern hemisphere because there's no GPS there.
See, that's a hole for me, because then it's like he said. If I feel
I'm
like
not
it
sure where
doesn't,
you're going with it though to make it a hole.
because for me it doesn't make sense. Where if you can triangulate and they're saying it's through cell towers,
Right.
and they can find your position,
Right.
and that's how your GPS works.
Right.
Why doesn't your cell phone still work then? In that, like, that's what I'm not
don't
following
want it.
here.
I don't understand the last part though.
So basically, he's curious as to why would they not be having cell reception in those areas when they already have these towers, right?
well, they might not
And
have
then-
the towers in that area.
But you're having
you
GPS in
still have
those
GPS.
areas.
So whatever they're doing
and
is
if you got GPS
gotta
there,
keep-
then you probably do have towers around you. Because
Okay.
if you go to research
That's what we're asking.
So then
yeah.
I think the
This is what
bigger
he's getting to. He's getting to the point. I think what I'm going to answer the question, if I may, is I think that they're keeping this image up. The GPS is working off of satellites, but really they're working off the cell towers. So to keep that image proper, is they completely block a certain device. A certain device from being accessible to that connection, right? That cell tower connection. So if you could think of it in the way that maybe a GPS is programmed to send out a certain signal, so that when that signal is sent out, that the GPS will work, but that same signal that's being sent out from a cell phone could be a different. You know what I'm getting at here?
They're keeping up.
gotta
They're
keep
keeping
an
up.
image,
They're
right?
keeping the image
They
up,
have
right?
to keep an image,
okay,
right?
so it's a front.
The proverbial they doesn't
Sorry.
want you to know
Exactly.
So
that they have cell tower
The powers
service,
that
so they
should not
tell
be,
you
yes.
that it's GPS, even though they have cell service, but they're saying it's GPS.
Andrew,
Right,
yeah,
what you're
you
saying.
look like you're
Well,
itching here.
so I think we're just on the brink here for me. I don't know. I don't want to jump ahead of anybody here or anything like that. But so we have all these questions as to, like, so why wouldn't we have the cell reception? You know, where's the money coming from? We got Disney involved in all this. I'm so curious as to why are everybody going to these lengths of covering this up?
Well,
That's what I don't understand. I don't see the benefit
You know what?
here.
Let's build to
save
that.
that for last.
Let's
I
build
think
that
we should
because
save that
for
let's hit
last,
these
yeah.
points and then let's build to the why.
Yeah.
You know what? I think a good way to do this. I think when you guys are on your trip, an experiment you should do is have a cell phone, have a GPS.
That's great.
When
That's
you
a great.
and when you're on
idea,
your road
actually,
trip,
yeah.
and this is one we're gonna want to follow on. When you hit where you lose cell reception, check your GPS and find out if it works. I'm gonna be curious. I'm just curious to find out if that's gonna work. So don't worry, we're gonna record this. We'll write all these.
Yep.
We'll add you guys on Twitter. We'll make sure. You know what? I'm sure some of our listeners will follow you. We got a couple guys who'll probably grill you.
No
But,
worries.
That's fine.
No worries.
So man, we went on a tangent there. That was a
Yeah,
good
it was-
one.
it
That was
was
a good
awesome.
one. I liked it.
love it.
Okay, so we got on the cell towers. Do you guys mind if we start? Do you mind if we start asking questions?
No, let's do this. What is the flat Earth then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
well, like, yeah.
If the Earth is not a globe and it's not continents, as we know, and I know you guys use the NATO flag.
Well, with the NATO flag, that was what we look out and we see that reflects most towards our present map that most people are drawn to because it makes the most sense to what we observe right now. The NATO flag, though, I wouldn't say it's 100% correct because there are people that are doing the mathematics and we are triangulating cities and the work is in progress. But what the model looks like right now is if you can imagine a plate, put the North Pole right at the center, and then the outer rim of that plate is the South Pole all the way around. It's not just a point. It is our barrier, our ice wall around
So
us.
it's not an actual pole then, per
No,
se.
it's not a pole.
Oh, I guess, you know what? The South Pole would be on the bottom side.
Well, yeah, and
I
the thing
guess,
and the
yeah,
thing
if you-
is no one could
we
ever
don't know what's on the
prove
bottom
the
side,
South
but-
Pole isn't a point for the fact that all compasses point to the North Pole.
Yeah.
So if you're say a lot of people bring up the argument, well, I've been around the world. There's been a lot of trips around the world, but they're not realizing that on the flat Earth model too, that is a acceptable knowledge because when we fly or travel, we always keeping north as our bearing. So if you're always keeping north to your left side and you come around a globe or a flat Earth, you are going around it. So you will get the experience that you went around a globe or you went around a flat Earth or the same experience. Never has there been any documented flights around the South Pole. There's been some flights over the North Pole, and plus commercial air traffic now does use the northern area. but you don't find any over the South Pole. It's a restricted area, a restricted airspace. The only airplanes allowed to fly there, from what we can see right now, are the militaries from our participating countries and NASA.
Now, as a tourist, you can go to Antarctica. I'm stealing Zelly's awesome point here.
Yeah.
Making myself look better. Sorry, Zell.
And
Yeah, I'm failing.
actually, I just had a customer to go down there because I do fireplaces and I was servicing his fireplace, and he just got back from a cruise to Antarctica. So there is cruises, and we found a flight that goes down there and flies over a portion of it. But in an airplane, you can't really tell how far they're taking you in or not. On that ship, too, though, what he told me was they were never allowed to make any kind of landfall. They were actually restricted to that ship 100%. They weren't allowed to even bring cigarettes or tissue papers out onto the deck while they were out on the deck below the 60th parallel. So there was a bit of, and they only go and travel, because if you go on Google Earth right now, a lot of people will take pictures, tourists, and then upload them to Google. And we see on the Earth, you can always find little pictures of where people are posting pictures of where they've been and what islands they're seeing, and, you know, sharing with everybody. Well, if you look around Antarctica, you'll see where all these people are visiting. They're only visiting that tip coming down from South America, the tip that comes down from Antarctica, where basically all the bases are and the landfall is, where they say they can access Antarctica. But you don't see pictures. You'll start to see areas where there's absolutely no pictures around the continent.
So why wouldn't you be able to see this ice wall then? Like, why wouldn't this be visible?
Well, we look back at the story of Andrea Barnes. Now, she had some big investors. She got them to invest actually into a Zeppelin-style balloon to take her up from in England to prove that we lived on well, at the time, she was trying to disprove the spinning globe. In her theory, she thought she could take the balloon straight up from London and then the Earth spin below her and then come down 4 hours later in New York. You know, when you calculate in the spin, that's actually theoretically should have been possible in the way she was thinking. But that didn't happen, obviously. And, you know, the excuse is that the atmosphere keeps up to the spin of the Earth. There's other things. We did a video on that, too, about the different speeds that we actually, because people think just that base speed from the surface of the Earth. But when you calculate that the exosphere goes right out to 10,000 kilometers out, that speed out at 10,000 kilometer mark is a lot faster to keep up to that center point on Earth. So that's a whole, you know, you would have to go into our video because I explain a little bit into detail there. But Andrea Barnes, she got investments again to actually go down. And the government let her, the British government let her go to Antarctica. But she went by herself. Well, she went with a couple guys at first, and that trip actually they got turned away because of a big storm. But the second trip she went down, she went by herself on a snowmobile, and she went for that wall. She never was seen after that until just recently, about 10 years ago. They found her snowmobile, a camera case, and a note saying that she found the evidence. But the guy who found the camera opened up and exposed the film, and the film was ruined. And that's documented.
Of course.
Of course.
Always.
There's always that hanger and everything, right?
There's
So,
gonna be
but
a
that's
dead
a
end anyway,
documented
right?
case. And actually, Andrea Barnes, you know, for this young girl to go completely against the education system of the time when it was really pushed upon you, and to fight for to prove these things, and to get wealthy investors to back her on her claims. We have to actually take a look at that, because that's before our paradigm shift. Because really, when you think about 1969, moon landing was where basically the world got told we were a round globe, and there's our proof. And who was to dispute it after that? Right? But up to that point, there was arguments.
We're always battling about the moon.
No, but
in
there
here.
was, up to 69, there were groups with strong arguments against the globe model. But 69 snuffed them out because they got the footage
Apparently.
with that, you know, moon landing.
Which we know is
I still can't
False.
understand why.
Well, the why,
if the Earth is flat, I don't care. Sweet.
well, look at it this way. Look at what's your biggest grief of the world right now? Let's ask everybody in here. What means the most to you? What's going wrong that you wish you could change right now?
Lizard people taking over the world.
Just did that one. Reptilians, man. They're
Okay.
all over the place.
Huh? You?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Fucking
It's
reptilians.
terrifying.
okay. I'm gonna say, just this divide and this divide mentality that society has now is work for yourself and do everything for you and not for a people as a whole. I think is my biggest concern is that we're all working greedy and against each other as opposed to working with each other and for a common goal, really.
Yeah, and then I want to bring up just a little example and see what you guys think. Now, we all know about the red light camera. You know, if that they start putting up on intersections so that people that are running the yellow,
Oh, yeah.
they get a picture now.
Inadmissible court. They can't prove I was in the
Yeah,
fuck that.
But they went and put a sign up saying that this intersection has got a red light camera. So now what they've noticed is that a lot of people are stopping because they know they're being watched. You know, and the statistics show it. They completely changed from people running the yellow to stopping it at those intersections. It's you can see it all over the place. But now look at it this way. What if we are correct and we are living in what we see in Genesis, per se, or in a dome structure, you know, enclosed? That right away will lead you to only one thought. Because I sat there and I know it only leads to one thought because you start to think about it and go, well,
That we are divine creation and
we
not
are divine
natural
creation,
selection.
and there must be a
Before you
creator.
continue, just explain. So we got a flat Earth with Antarctica surrounding in an ice wall.
Yeah.
And a dome above.
Well, the dome
Explain
is
explain the dome, because I don't think people listening right now know about this dome.
Well, the dome is because the
They
heavens.
call it the filament, right?
The filament.
Firmament.
Firmament,
Yeah.
yeah. And the firmament was to house the stars and everything else, which gives us our... Because as far as what they say in the Bible is that God did that to mark our months, mark our seasons and everything else, basically to give a celestial calendar.
Just for this
to us.
podcast, let's throw out the Bible.
Yeah, no, and
let's
I
just-
really, and just to put it clear with me, it's not, I'm not preaching for, I look to the Bible for evidence. I don't look for the Bible as truth because they've muttered, or the whole Bible has been muddied.
What evidence isn't truth, though? What kind of evidence? If it's evidence and it's not true,
Well, you look at a lot of things. Let's take Jesus, for example, just to bring him into this for 1
it's a
second.
magician.
Well, look at this. He died at 33. We all know that 33. It actually, a lot of people put it towards the Masons, but they don't know why. But if you actually look, 1/3 of angels were thrown out with Satan.
No, like I
So
understand.
33 actually comes right back from there. But we look at Jesus. He died at 33. He was the Son of God. So he was
Says
the
this
Son.
book that's thousands.
No,
of years
I know,
old.
I know. I'm getting to it.
Okay.
Now look at this. Now imagine you want to hide God. What would you do to the Bible? You would put a false prophet in there.
I would get rid of it completely.
Well, no, you couldn't because people are already following it. So in order to get in there, you have to create a false prophet, and then that false
opposition.
prophet then will divide the religions. What we see, because actually, if you go and talk to a Muslim and you go talk to a Christian, the only difference between the two is how they review
Messiah.
Jesus.
I know Jesus was just an alien.
No, but that's what their differences are. Otherwise, their bottom line part of their religion is connected. So what they've done is just like the globe over top of the flat earth, what they've done in the Bible is put Jesus or other messiahs in front of God. And what we're seeing is a paradigm where they're stealing the fact that we should know there's a creator. We should know there's a God above us, but because we're hidden by the globe and we're hidden by Jesus, no one sees this. You go talk to, I went to a church when I started realizing what was going on. I thought, I'll go to a preacher and talk to him because they know Genesis, right? I go to this preacher and he goes, no. Scientists have already showed us it's a globe. Genesis is just a myth. I stand back 2 steps going, just wait. That's your Bible that you believe 100% in, but you're telling me that not to believe Genesis.
And that's all well and good. So let's get back to modern day, the firmament.
Actually, you know what?
is this?
Hold on, I got a quick thing though. My thing is the Bible and even the Old Testament, everything it's written by man,
Right.
right?
And I agree with you.
We
there,
can't
yeah.
be fucking trusted with anything.
Well, and it even
Right?
says in there that don't trust man's word. So in a way, it contradicts
It's saying
itself
throw this
because
fucking thing
we
out.
should not trust what's written there. It's even said there.
Yeah.
And actually, the way I look at it, I said, if God wanted to keep a message with us, why didn't he do it like the Ten Commandments and write it in a mountain or line up the stars? Like there should have been something more concrete. So because he should have known, we would have easily doctored a piece of paper. So, but I do believe that we do still have a creator, though, because we're not from a big bang. Actually, when you really think about what they got us to believe, think about the pagan religion. They got us to believe that we come from where? Suns, blown up suns, right? That's where our atoms come from, because you got to have that explosion to create that next level of atoms or properties. And the heaviest thing a sun has, when you research into it, is its iron level, and that's where it collapses on itself and then spreads those chemicals across the universe, and then they collect into planets, and then we get the variety of what we see like on Earth.
We could go all day about the creation of the universe.
No,
but
exactly. But I'm
it's
just
coming
saying
to it.
what
Yeah,
I'm
it's
saying
coming to
about it is that what people believe is that they are from suns. Look at pagan belief. Pagan belief puts the sun center in the overall paradigm of the Bible, when you think about creation, what would be an insult to God, the guy who created, or woman that created the sun? Wouldn't that be an insult to you if you were just referred to as one of the things you created? If you were just known for one item you created in your life and that's what you were, wouldn't that insult you just a little bit?
You lost me. I'll be honest.
I can't speak for God if there is one, right?
No, I know, but God wouldn't. I wouldn't want.
I think-
if I was God, I wouldn't want to just be reflected by one of my creations because He created everything, So if I was just preaching to the sun and saying that's God, that's an insult to the Creator that created the sun, because I'm taking one of His creations as my false idol. That's what I get out of it. Like I said, I'm going from atheist trying to figure this out.
And to get back onto the dome thing,
Yes.
That's kind of where we're getting at it. The firmament is the best depiction of the dome, of what we're talking about, the dome over our flat Earth. And I think that's where he was getting with that, is Genesis is probably our most accurate depiction of how we were created and how this dome was created, right? And where was I?
What is the dome? That's what I'm
the
wondering.
dome and the firmament are one and the same, because the firmament means the dome. And we can actually, you see it played out in a lot, like say the Truman Show. You know the Truman Show?
Yeah.
We've all watched that.
Yeah.
Imagine that though on a massive scale.
So we're all living the Truman Show.
Basically.
That's why the name
Is that
True
the only
Man.
evidence you have for the dome, though?
No. But I'm just saying it's a mockery, though. You look at it, true man. Also, that the fact that light that dropped down that woke up Truman was on it. It said Sirius. Sirius is actually linked to the morning star, which if you look and you research anything about Lucifer, which the Masons, everybody are preaching to right now, it all works back to that morning star and stuff. So you start to see all these relationships, right?
With the Truman Show.
Not just with the Truman Show. No, because
I'm sorry,
there's
I'm
Stephen
sorry, guys.
King that
Jumping
died.
from the
You guys
Bible.
have been
to-
really prepared, and it's been awesome. But let's leave like the religion and the Bible out.
Okay.
Let's just go back to the flat Earth
Sure,
and this
whatever.
firmament that
Yeah.
is,
But the firmament dome, I mean,
Like, what is it? What is it made of? What is
Well,
this whole?
from
That we can't
what's the
really
theory,
answer.
or what's
Well,
what's the theory on this dome?
there's some theories. One is it's made out of ice, and that's why they experience the very cold temperatures as they're rising up. So it could be this
That's
frozen.
not, so that you don't. That has nothing to do with like air density or anything like that.
Well, no, density has a play in it, but definitely not gravity. I mean, because then how does smoke rise and stuff? Actually, gravity has a lot of things that work against it when you start looking at it and start breaking it down, because there's certain things that we observe that aren't possible if we do have a true gravity.
Okay, well, so we got this flat Earth
Yeah,
surrounded by Antarctica
right,
with a firmament above,
right. And that's to keep the waters...
and that so maybe made of ice, maybe made of something
we
else.
can't tell
That's
for
up
sure.
for discussion.
Who knows?
Yes.
So now you got the moon.
Right. The
And the
moon and the
sun.
sun are inside of that.
They're in the firmament.
Yes.
So how far roughly do you think this
Well,
firmament
we just did a
is?
sun test, and it verified the calculations that it's about 3,000 miles up, and it's 32 kilometers wide.
The
Or
sun.
32 miles wide, sorry.
And
The
so
sun.
what was this test? How did you do this test?
Well, we had put out a call for people to do on the solstice that just happened, or the equinox, I should say,
Yeah.
on March 20th, where we know the sun is traveling on the equator line. So we know from there, if I say get a reading from, say, Salt Lake City is the one I posted on our website to show people, one of the better ones that we got in, that showed the degree of the shadow at that location.
reproducing
So then you can
Aristotle
just
is
use your
supreme.
trigonometry back to figure out the height of that sun.
that's
based
the-
on the shadow. Now you got to understand the original one that they talk about. He took two things as an assumption. One was that he took that light was traveling in a parallel line, and he took that that the Earth was curved because of that. So when he calculates he's making two assumptions.
he?
Aristophanes.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's where it comes from, and then
Going
that's how
back ancient Greek.
right, and
Yes.
that's the one that did it from Alexandria and went up to I forget the other city. I always get
Yeah, that's the
I'm
one.
not
That's the one I
sure.
read before too. I can't remember the city.
and
also,
that's what
but
they used to say that they
That's what
gained
that-
the original measurement of the Earth.
how they calculated the
Right, but
circumference
you've
of
been
the
out.
Earth.
yeah.
You've been out lots and seen the sun, where the rays are coming through the clouds at angles. So
I've heard that argument before.
no, but we've all seen it. You can pull up, see on Google. This is the best way to look. Go on the Google search, and search up the God rays, as they call them, and you're going to get tons, thousands, 10,000, millions of photographs from people taking pictures, real pictures, and you could tell they're real from the ones that are artist renditions. Your eye can really tell that. There's no one can make the definitive that one picture's real or not these days, because everyone's been faking stuff now. So we're really have a lot of discernment that way. But what you do see is there's lots of them. you know. But there's no pictures of just straight lines coming through. So if the rays are coming through at angles, then his assumption then must be wrong.
Oh,
because
podcast foul.
Podcast foul.
Sorry, guys.
So either the light was coming in at parallel or the light was being bent, one of the two, because they come out and say that the reason we get God rays is because of refraction in the atmosphere. So it's got to be one or the other. You can't have refraction in the atmosphere and have curved lines coming in at different angles, and his experiment still come through with the results it did, or there's parallel lines, which we don't see on, everyday life. So it's one or the other. They got to come up with a definitive answer. Either parallel light can reach the surface of the earth or it can't. They say we see these God rays because it reflects or refracts up into the upper atmosphere and it bends the light. And that's how we see God rays. That's their explanation. You can look it up. So if we're taking that, okay, so if that's happening then, so what about the test where he presumed in his test that the rays are coming in parallel? Because then if they're not coming in parallel and you're saying they're being refracted, then that test doesn't make sense because then he's getting different angles of light coming through and his shadow measurement doesn't make sense then because he's not adjusting for the angle of the refraction at the time. So it's one or the other. And this is one of the paradigms that we want to bring up to a scientist and go, what is it? Is it this or that? Because basically you're telling us it's both, but how can it be both? How can it be both if your answer for what we see is that it's being refracted, yet you have an experiment where you say it's coming in parallel? So is it parallel lines coming down at us, or is there being refracted through our atmosphere? This is something that people got to ask questions for. I don't think we're wrong to ask the question. I think it's wrong that the science community doesn't answer them. When science is supposed to, and the scientific method, you're supposed to accept new facts. That's the only way we get to true science. If you want the truth of science, you got to keep questioning it. There's nothing wrong with questioning something.
No,
Nothing
No,
wrong
not
at
at
all.
all.
And I'm all good if that's only one experiment though done by just one
But it's
guy.
what they point to all. No, this is what
So
I
this
call
is-
the 1,000-year throne, because they all point. When you argue with any of the scientists, they use his experiment. Carl Sagan came out and used that experiment on the documentary that he made, explaining everything. So if that's the experiment they're using, and we can point at that experiment and go, no, that's not right. Well,
If you can prove it's not right,
Well,
then
we
maybe
have-
in 1,000 years, that'll be the experiment that people look to.
No,
but right
but
now,
the-
we go with our best guess, right?
well, why are we relying on an experiment then that's over 1,000 years old? Shouldn't it be time that we redo that experiment?
Sure.
Yeah, that's what we're asking. But why is Tyson coming out and refusing to meet with us about this? Why
His answer is that science is true whether you believe it or not. Is his classic answer.
I know what you're saying, and it's based on the fact that the sun is that's small, and that we live, and that's inside our firmament,
well,
and that you don't believe in satellites or gravity
No. Well,
or
that's-
anything like this, right?
No, because now what you're going to do is say, well, because I don't believe in some of what you're believing, I don't want to take in some facts that I'm
We've already
bringing.
taken these
You
facts
basically
into
said, I
play.
don't want to listen to your question because
no,
I think that you're completely wrong.
No, I don't think you're completely
No,
wrong.
no,
'cause
but
I'm
that's
not a
what you just
scientist.
said.
I'm not a scientist.
No, I know. Nor am I. But
I'm
you
the
know what?
same-
We are all scientists, as far as Obama just said. He just came out with a speech 2 days ago saying that, the news media is
Fuck
getting
it,
on.
this podcast got just way more credentials.
Yeah.
Right, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
You
well-
heard it. You heard it here. We're all
Well,
fucking
Obama
scientists.
Obama
Thanks,
came
Obama.
out and said that the news needs to, not only because it is a hot topic right now, come in
journalism.
and our journalism, look at flat Earth versus globe. What they should be doing is going and seeing what evidence or science is behind the globe to prove and how did he put it?
A notion.
A notion
of the
of
globe.
the globe.
He did not say it was
These
a
are
fact.
his
He said
words.
the notion of a globe.
So why aren't
So
the
it's an
scientists?
idea.
So why aren't these scientists stepping up to prove this wrong? We can easily disprove us by NASA if everybody here agreed. All we have to do is tell NASA on your next trip up there, have a camera where it's undisputed.
You know what? I think we're not going to get anywhere with NASA. Who we should be calling it
Yeah,
is,
exactly.
what's the tycoon, the cell phone tycoon?
Well, no. Well, you look at the Virgin. See, did you guys see that? He has that flight that's going to go up there. You know, that's been in the making since 2007. He actually built the airport down there, let it go to mothballs.
Branson.
Yeah, the
Richard
spaceport.
Branson, yeah.
Richard
that's
Branson.
spaceport.
He's a cool guy. I think
No, no,
we
well,
might be
but-
able to get him.
But you look at all these companies, and I've been doing a lot of research.
They're all
Pretty
in
much you
cahoots,
look,
man.
they're all owned by 6 corporations.
Well, space. You get Elon Musk with.
They're
SpaceX.
all
He's
they're all
not
connected.
independent at all.
No,
We can prove that.
No, the reason these guys even get the chance to go up there and get onto the ticket of making easy money
sign aboard.
is sign aboard to their plan because they're not doing it. And you could see there's so much evidence to show that they're not doing it. We actually expose their DARPA mock setup of the ISS, all being done with 3-dimensional blue screen and stuff. And people don't want to believe they don't got a stage mock completely up with all the latest technology to do blue screen, which puts 3-dimensional objects in front of you. So they have the technology, and by most conspiracy theories, they are how many years ahead of us, the government? in
Yeah,
technology?
Who knows?
Yeah, who
You know what?
knows,
Well,
but they're
Disney.
definitely-
Did you know Disney back in the early '60s invented yellow screen? A lot of people don't even know that yellow screen even was invented. He used yellow screen on his first motion picture cartoons to bring in live actors. Mary Poppins, they did it on yellow screen. So they had that technology back then. People don't think that they did, but they did. They had it there. And why did Disney, before color TV was invented, he was doing his cartoons in color, filming in color. This man, if you look at him, the relationship between him and Tony Stark are actually a paradigm. No, seriously.
Marvel
No,
character.
you're hitting key
You
points.
got
for
some
us.
serious
Yeah.
comic book geeks here.
I
Got some
did
Marvel geeks.
actually. I did
Got an erection
I did
there.
two different
Tony
series.
Stark
One
on the
is a
podcast.
3-part, and one is a 6-part. And pretty much anybody who's watched them, their comments coming off of it is that just freaked me out because you have to go watch it. You have to see this footage. Like the one 3-part series is everything from '69 and before, and it will blow your mind what they are talking about. Like it just, and one of the clips that we took was from the Ford Motor Company. But if you look, they partnered up with Disney at the time. And did you know at the Pearl Harbor bombing that the military was standing at Disney's doorstep down at the studio before Disney pretty much was just finding out about the Pearl Harbor bombing? He gets a phone call and says, yeah, I'll meet with them. He says, you can't meet with them. They want it now. And they actually turned his studio into a propaganda tool machine, or retooled it for a propaganda machine for the war.
See, I'm gonna bite on this. I don't see. For me, it doesn't really tie up with because I'm a lover of conspiracy. But I understand. I understand where you're getting at. But I also believe there's hidden factors going on that we weren't told. And the government hides from us.
Right.
And I think I've said before. I think Pearl Harbor was just an excuse to get into World War II.
Oh, totally, it was.
War is a
false
money
flag.
making, right?
It was a false flag, and
100%.
the whole thing. And I know you guys are wondering why Disney, But the thing
been
is-
killing me. I wanted to ask so bad.
I'm going to give you the answer because this is what ties it together.
Can I still watch their movies?
Yeah, no, go
First
right
off? Okay,
ahead.
perfect.
Yeah, because they reveal so much. You just got to watch them because we try to express it all, but the movie really. You got to just see it for yourself.
And
It's like seeing is believing. But,
We'll get you to link that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
On our Twitter, we'll get it sent and we'll get this.
Oh, you
linked.
bet. Yeah, and so the whole thing with Disney. Think about what's the best time if you want to instill a lie into society. What's the best time to do it?
Wartime.
Best time?
If you want to start building a lie for their life, where would be
Oh,
the
when they're kids.
best
When
time?
you're kids.
When they're kids.
Yeah.
Why you Mickey Mouse Club and how many of the singers nowadays they have such a, I don't know.
Influence on today's pop culture.
Well, and look at the way they are.
Yeah.
I mean, conspiracy theories are going nuts over our music industry today, and think where most of those people are
Stop
from.
human
Right
cloning.
from that Mickey Mouse Club. Why do you think he created the Mickey Mouse Club?
Yeah.
Look back at Paperclip. Look at what the Nazis were doing back in World War II. We can actually carry all of those things. Their music. Like, look at Fantasia. A lot of people were confused. The artists even doing Fantasia admitted that they didn't know what Disney was doing. They said that this is not going to work. And he hired a guy from Germany. He's a big-time German composer of music, and let him compose all the music for it. And we hear all this stuff about the Nazis doing that 432 hertz or 433 or something. They have a certain thing that really, what it does is actually it opens up your subconscious so that subliminal messages are actually coming through a lot easier. It's a way to put you into trance through music. But anyway, if
Always
you look
hated
at
that
Fantasia, his artists were actually arguing with him all the way through, going, this is not a public, this is not going to work. Especially, you got to think this back in the 60s, right? This is so new for them. But when you look at that whole movie now with the eyes of knowing what they were trying to do, you can see that it feels like part of that plan, like fluoride in the water, the music coming through for kids and them planting in. Because if you look, kids get nailed the most about the globe, almost every show. The school bus was all about flying in space and stuff. Even when I was a kid, the blue marble. stuff like that. You cannot, and that's why it's so embedded. Why would they be pushing so hard on kids about the globe, unless there's a reason, and it is. Trust me, we've done the research. I know the answers because of my research, but I just don't want to throw them all out there too. I'm excited to tell everybody everything I know, but you got to take the baby steps to see the
Take it at your own
connections,
pace.
to
Make
kind
the
of take your
connections.
pace. And I encourage everyone, just go look for a couple hours, spend the time. Don't be embarrassed. If you're embarrassed, hide somewhere, in the bathroom. with-
Google incognito.
Yeah, exactly. Go put a mask on or something, but go take
Listen,
a
our
look.
listeners aren't embarrassed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've looked at a lot weirder
Yeah.
shit. On
Just
the internet
spend a
than
couple
fucking
honest
flat earth
hours
stuff.
looking at the footage and try to just do it in an unbiased way. Don't go, no, that's fake because I know space is real. No, space has been put in our mind. Like, I love Star Wars. Trust me. I absolutely loved that throughout my life. I remember when I was younger, we couldn't wait for Empire Strikes Back to come out. I waited for that VHS to come up on the on the shelf for years because it took like 3-4 years back then before movie 2 released into the public, right? But you know what? Since learning about Flat Earth, I still haven't seen the newest Star Wars. Because
you already saw it. It's New Hope. You
Yeah.
saw it.
Yeah,
Already saw it.
but pretty much when you realize the truth of it, you start to, oh no, you know what? There was never a defining thing between science and science fiction as far as what they're talking about. And actually, if you look, what's his name again? Arthur C. Clarke. He actually, if you go back in his novels, was talking about satellites. And he basically, you can almost call him the inventor of the satellite because it was written in the books and softcover way back into the early 1900s. Before the whole paradigm of stuff coming into play. So, why these guys were so a lot of people say how remarkably close it was to the science fiction prior that actually transpired after. No, it is, because I watch all
I
the-
agree.
I actually, a lot of my research is going back and watching the old movies, like from 1920 on, because there's a couple of weird things. In 1920, you'll see that the whole government kind of got them and the police and that were shifted. There was what they called a cleaning house in 1920. And I feel that a lot of this, the first indoctrination, say if there's a Mason, Illuminati and all that, you guys are into conspiracy, so you know those names.
Yeah.
Imagine the Masons are like the wall, and, they're the stonemasons are the ones who build that strong fortress. And we know government's nothing but red tape. So imagine if they instilled the Masons into the politics, police, and all of the services during the early 1900s to get some control there. Then we see in Hollywood, it was kind of weird that the government only went after Hollywood for being communist traitors and stuff because of their parties and stuff, which kind of felt weird at the time, except for that you see that during that time, it felt like a house cleaning in Hollywood. And who was left was everybody that was agreeing to put out propaganda, per se, because Disney got a lot of power after that. In the 70s, they came out with a movie called Damnation Alley. It's about two guys, military guys, that show up to one of the nuclear bases with where they launched the nuclear rocket from. And the movie's going to show them going down and then suddenly get into a war, and they launch rockets, and 10 years later, they screwed this guy, and it's a whole story. It's about the end. But what's fascinating is in the first 5 minutes of it, as they're walking in, they have a scene where they go through an officer's office that they have to buzz through and get through. And this officer has got drawings all over his wall of sketches and stuff, like cartoon stuff. And the one officer turns to him and goes, "How's it going?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm probably accepting all that into the preliminary of going to this part of the department of the Defense Department." So and then they get into the elevator, and the one guy turns to him and goes, "I don't know why we need cartoonists in the military." And the other guy turns to him and goes, "I think I'm going to ask for a leave because I don't like your attitude." But are they dropping a hint there? Like, where have you ever seen where they show cartoon? Like, when do you even think that an officer would be allowed to have cartoon drawings all over the office, or that they have a segment in the military that is dealt with cartoons?
See,
Okay.
I'm on that with you. Where I think there's some hidden stuff. There's stuff hidden. There's been clues dropped throughout history, not necessarily regarding flat Earth, but maybe widespread corruption, secret societies, and stuff. I think this is a good point. Let's turn. Do you mind?
Yeah, we could
answer
go,
some.
we could
Actually,
go on
Todd needs to
we
talk
could go
some
on
more, too.
conspiracies all day. Like
Yeah, I
they
know.
they spawn themselves really if you
Yeah.
keep going. So yeah, let's because we're over an hour now. So let's go. Let's get back to the flat Earth. Let's ask some questions,
do
and
you-
you guys.
Do you guys mind if we shoot some questions that we had, and then we'll get to our Twitter followers questions.
problem.
We had this one guy, Nick the Coon, and he was furious.
Okay.
That's fine.
He was mad.
He blew up my phone, man. He probably sent me 30 messages
All right.
within an hour. So we told everyone we'd read their tweets. So
Okay.
Yeah.
First off, here's one that it's really got me right away. So in your guys' theory, from my understanding through my life, the moon is tidal locked with the Earth, right? So we can go outside right now. We see the Earth, we see the moon. We see the same moon every night. We can look at it. It's mapped. Now, if you go to the southern hemisphere, that moon appears upside down.
Right, and that could be on both models because, again, the moon and the sun are going over top of the equator and between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. So if you're in the southern hemisphere and the moon's high or low, you're always going to see that same direction compared to that direction. It still works both ways.
Now, wouldn't someone see it twisting? Wouldn't it be a slow wouldn't you see a slow rotation?
We're only seeing the underneath of it. So on the flap side, we're just seeing the underneath. So it's not a rotation that way. And actually, if you look, they call it. I just was looking at this the other night. The moon actually comes in and out a bit on its apogee and perigee. And it's escaping me the word right now. I just did a video on it. Now, we've actually did what we call, it's a moon test, the moonlight. And we actually, it's quite funny because during this, I look at Todd, I'm like, you know what, they even have two different words for it because we got sunlight and we got moonlight. So what we found out in the beginning was that people are claiming that the moonlight isn't having the same properties of the sunlight. And that's right there is like a red flag because we're told that it's sunlight reflecting off the moon. So we should still see the same properties of sunlight down here off the reflected light off the moon.
Radiant heat.
Yeah, or the radiant light. And all that should still carry its properties. What we're finding, we actually did the test. We went out in the full moonlight, put 2 cups, one exposed, filled with water, one exposed to the moonlight, and one not exposed within the same area. So it's roughly a controlled environment as much as we can get it.
We left these cups of water outside the whole day so that they would...
Yeah, they're equal temperatures.
Be
They're out there
exactly
for
the
10
same.
hours by the time we actually took the readings. And we went out, and the one exposed to the moonlight was colder than the one that was not exposed to the moonlight. So we are actually seeing a different property come from there. And actually, when you go outside, a lot of people can contest when they're at a campfire, when there's a moonlight, that fire is a lot more vibrant than when there's no moonlight on it. There seems to be some properties of the moonlight that actually are different. And people are actually, the thermodynamics that are changing. It's about how the heat can radiate out in a certain amount of space.
Heat finds cold and cold finds heat.
Yeah. So it's a transfer of that heat. There's a growing argument about the ISS because they say they're up in the stratosphere and the temperatures up there are over 2,000 degrees as far as what they say, but the molecules are so far apart that it doesn't get that hot. But where's all the heat being expelled then off the ISS if the heat off the ISS is less than 2,000? It has nowhere to go. Except for, what they say is that it actually gets changed to electronic waves, and it goes out as electronic type of wave that can disperse instantly into space. So they get around that problem by saying that one thing that we can't prove because no one could go to the ISS to see how they change a physical heat property into an electronic or electrical type of
And to go back to
wave.
the moon and the face of the moon, I think it's all about perspective and where you are on the Earth.
Yeah.
But we always see the same face, and depending on where you're standing, obviously, if you're standing on the right side of that disc or the left side, you're going to see a different version of that moon, right? Different version of that face of the moon. Because you're looking at it, say, if it's in the center, you're looking at it completely different than if you were on the right side of the moon, right?
Well, and they even
that's
document
if
that we
your
see.
theory of the moon being only 3,000 kilometers away.
Right,
If
exactly.
the moon,
That's
at
how
the
I'm
distance
trying
that
to
they tell
explain.
us,
1 million. Yeah.
whatever it is, I don't know enough on it.
Yeah.
Then that would be the flipped version, right? That would be if you're at the north, and then you go to the south, you've seen like a completely backwards, like upside down, right?
Same on the globe though. You see that same thing happens. They got pictures of it. So, but it can be done both ways, and they even have it documented. Which I was getting at is through the apogee and perigee, it comes in and out a bit. It has a wave to it. As far as it's not like a perfect circle where it follows a perfect straight line on that circle. It actually comes in a bit by about 5 degrees. Now, it actually shows and exposes an extra 1% either time, depending on where you are on the Earth, and that's documented. It says it right there. So we are actually seeing a little bit more one way and a little bit more the other way. And that's actually listed right there if you look up moon phases and stuff on Wiki. It's all documented, the 5 degree shift it coming in and out. And it's weird. You look at their graphic they're showing you, it looks like it's coming in and out. And if I did a little bit further research to figure out, well, what could be shining? If it's not the sunlight, what's shining at? If you research phosphorus, which is quite interesting, it's not a natural element of the earth. The only way they find it here is by breaking apart other chemicals and finding little bits and pieces of it here and there and everywhere. So, but phosphorus glows naturally. It glows when exposed to oxygen. It glows a white. Now, when you heat it up with natural sunlight, it glows red. So some interesting properties that we've been seeing with the moon going from white, and then our blood moon's red. It also, if you put enough pressure and enough heat, it goes to purple and it goes to black. You know, so it's very interesting.
If the moon and the sun are in the same spot and
sorry.
it has phosphorus, wouldn't it always be glowing red?
Well, we don't know for sure. Like these are only theories right now. What we can come up with to answer some of the questions that are coming out. You know, and the fact that we see the moon coming in and out. It could, if phosphorus is activated by oxygen, then maybe it coming in a bit to our atmosphere is what's actually lighting it up every month. Because the full moon happens when it's at its apogee or perigee, which is its closest, and its new moon is at its apogee, so when it's furthest in that 5 degree.
So, staying with the moon,
yeah.
How do you explain the moon phases with the flat Earth theory?
Well, again, with the moon phases, we don't have 100% definitive answers, but there's been times and there's documented evidence already, and we've seen it here above us in Penticton. We have a moon in the sky and the sun over here, and the shadow and the terminator don't match where the direction of that sun is facing on it at the exact same time in the daylight sky. So it doesn't. There's something not working there, and there's other people are posting footage actually where they can see stars through the shaded side of the moon. So where you see the moon, but where it's been shadowed out or whatever, there's actual footage out there where people, when they're reviewing it, can see stars coming through it. Now, how is that even possible? You know, it raises questions, but we can't tell because there's certain areas of science that we first have to get them to either answer our questions or allow us to go experiment.
Exactly.
But right now, what we find, there's just a door that's closed and nobody wants to talk about. But I don't see why we shouldn't talk about it. It's not going to kill us to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
Talk away. Yeah, exactly.
So,
but yeah, let's power through some questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
Edge, you got one?
No, you keep going, keep
Okay,
rolling.
so my other one here is regarding Southern Hemisphere. You see different constellations.
right.
How does that work with your mom?
Well, there's a astral. You know what an astral plane is? It's one of the
Give
oldest.
it a quick rundown.
Okay, an astral plane is actually used from the ancients. It's probably the oldest kind of computer per se. Because back in the ancient times, it was actually to have one was like someone owning a computer nowadays. You had all the information in your hand. They used them to find their way around by the stars at night and all that. It is actually your GPS back then of the ancient times. Now, the astrolabe, if you look at it, if we're in a dome, there's actually this guy who's doing a great model, in my opinion, that explains it quite well, is that when you look at the astrolabe from the past that we actually physically had here, and it's documented, if you take that same design that they used there and this is it's not mechanical, it's not got electricity telling it what to do and stuff like that, so it's a mechanical device, so it's going to, and it still works to this day, so nothing's changed, and this is the other weird thing that we'll get to. But that astrolabe is a disc that goes above with the basically the stars in that. So this guy, he thought, well, one, if I separate that, use the flat earth here, put the astrolabe up here, spin it, and then have that reflection, because we all seen disco balls, and they can light up, right? So the astrolabe shows different pictures, even on our physical one, from above, below, northern, southern hemisphere. And the southern hemisphere is actually imprinted as a reflection on the outer edge. And if he took a camera, like the virtual setup he did, he puts the camera there to look up, and everything syncs up exactly the way we see it at the equator, because at the equator you get this weird look of both skies rotating in the opposite directions, and he reproduced it with his model. So to me, of everything I've seen, I really like his theory because he's actually been able to reproduce the observation, what we see.
And who is this?
I'll send you guys a link.
Okay.
It's a new guy on the scene, and he's really sunk into trying to put this model together by all the information that we have.
I'm going to tell you right now, I have a hard time trusting. I'm going to trust you two. So
Yeah.
when you guys are bringing facts to me,
Yeah.
that now, like when you guys are on this trip and stuff, I'm going to trust your facts as truth, but you know what I mean. Like,
Oh no, and
it's
we
hard to see a
look
thing
at
when
it
you-
the same way. We
Yeah.
look at it the same way. Like I like his theory. Not saying I've
Yeah.
We
completely
can't trust
sold
it
to it because
100%.
right
We
now,
just met the guy.
see with your own eyes.
yeah,
right?
well,
That's-
well, not only that, but right now we're blocked out from actually discovering the truth. What we want to do is first expose and get these lies out of the way so we can start working on the true truths
yeah.
of science. Instead of just theorizing and blocking out everything that comes against my theory because my ego's being hurt, how about we accept that you're wrong and we create a theory that actually fits our observation? So not all of us are walking around. You know what? And I feel people are out of place in life and don't realize it because they actually, their observation of life and what they're told are two different things. And they keep telling us, don't trust your eyes. Well, what are we going to trust if we
How do you
can't
get a
trust our
grasp
eyes?
on life if you can't
Yeah.
trust yourself?
Exactly. Why are we always told not to trust our eyes? That what we're seeing isn't what's actually happening. Well, how can we see Toronto over a curvature that should be, 400 or 500 feet of water in between on that bay?
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Andrew, you got one.
Okay, so if the Earth is flat, what about the other planets? Are they?
Well, no, we didn't say. Well, yeah, that's a good question, actually.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
a
it
It's
is-
a good question, but again, it's not a question we can really answer because we don't have that
okay.
that knowledge, right? We can't get to space ourselves and find out why. And
But
observably through a telescope, we don't know for sure that they are sphere. We see a circle, a round circle.
no, but
right?
if I'm an amateur, if I have a nice telescope, I'm an amateur.
Yeah.
I stare at, say, Jupiter,
That's
and I stare at
about the
it every
furthest
night
CERN you could see a
for
little bit.
whatever. You watch it rotate.
And like you said, you got to trust your eyes, right?
Well, exactly. And and I've seen a lot of footage from a lot of people who have been able to hook up a camera to that situation and put that footage up. And I've reviewed it myself, and I don't see what I see from NASA's CGI images, though. I see something a little bit different as far as it looks more like more light, more. It doesn't have that same defining look that we see.
It
Like
could
you
be
look at
spinning
Mars,
or it could be changing, right? We don't know for sure if it's actually rotating, right? It's a light. We can see it as a light, a round light. We could assume it's rotating because we see a different pattern within that light, but we can't fully assume that it's rotating and that it's a sphere.
That's if we
sphere
throw
planet, right?
our telescopes.
No,
like
no.
our space telescopes, like the Kepler and the Hubble, right? When they
Well-
zoom in like stars and stuff, and they watch them spin, and you can watch the sun spot every
Again-
whatever days, right?
Again, let's separate that. There's telescopes that the public can look and view up into space, and that's what we're just talking about. Now, this side where you're talking about, now let's go on to the science side with their telescopes. You're not allowed to go there as a public person and view through those. I'll tell you that right now because I've already checked into that. These are
you guys,
down to
what you guys should try and do is go to the Okanagan Observatory.
No, we want to. We're trying to get into these places so we can make these ourselves.
So these guys are gonna love this shout out. There's a place in Osoyoos, a Soyuz Observatory Bed and Breakfast,
Yeah.
and the guy's like one of the largest private owners of telescopes. And you can go and stay in his bed and breakfast, and he on a clear night sky will show you whatever you want to look at.
Sweet.
Oh.
So like that's a
Perfect.
great one.
Thanks for
That's right.
pointing that out.
That's right
Thanks
in
for
your
pointing that out,
alley.
for sure.
I've been
Definitely.
trying to book it. I don't think it even opens till April 10th.
Yeah, something like that.
April
yeah.
10th. So that's a good one for you guys to check out.
I'd love that.
Question.
Other
I got another one here. So
Well, yeah,
ready?
we got questions on questions. So.
Okay, so with your theory, how would you explain if you're standing at the beach and you're watching a ship go in the distance, it sinks bow to hull or bow to mast, bottom to top?
Again, that's all about perception and also bringing in atmospheric refraction as well. But we have video now with a Nikon 900 camera, so it's a really good camera that can zoom in pretty far in. Anyway, so we've had somebody test this already. Go on to a coastline, watch a ship disappear over the ocean visibly with their own eyes, and then take a Nikon 900 camera, zoom in to where they saw the ship disappear. They can zoom in directly and see the whole entire boat, and it come appear back into sight, the whole hull from bottom of the hull.
Is this
to
on your
ship.
guys'? Do you guys have this on
We
your
do
YouTube
have
video?
a couple of them. There's
Now,
actually-
now, if you
Great.
hold that camera on the ship, now you've seen it again. Does the ship disappear again?
There's there's a
again-
distance to that camera too. That there's a limitation, and you gotta know with atmosphere, there's stuff, we see it all the time. You get dust in the air.
The mirage.
Especially over an ocean, you get water vapor or vaporizing and stuff. So
all
there's
atmospheric
always something in
refraction.
our atmosphere. So the case about seeing forever in atmosphere is impossible, and the scientists would stand here with us to argue that case.
With the optical telescope.
With any of the telescopes, there's nothing that's going to break through the atmosphere. As far as
Radio
thick
telescope or
No,
anything
think
like
about
that?
this in the water. How far can you see underwater? And why can't you see right to the other
Yeah,
side of the
optically,
coastline?
but if you have
No.
sonar or something like that, you
Well,
can
that-
see
no,
to the
no,
stars.
now you're going radio
that's
wave.
That's
But I'm
completely
saying,
not vision.
but I'm
right?
saying if you had like some type of like a radar or something.
Right. And Loran actually documents cases where they're starting to pick up the ships at 700-800 kilometers out in the ocean, which should be far beyond the curve for that radar to pick
for
up.
that radar to pick up, exactly.
So the radio waves are proving to us that it's flat.
Not just our vision, but also the tools, the instruments that are
Yeah.
used every day for navigation, all of that. They basically disprove the curve right there.
Yeah. If you dig actually into it a little bit, you'll see that their answer doesn't actually jive. If you're going to accept that as the answer, then I should just be able to give you guys a half-ass answer and you believe me about the flat earth. We shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't just allow.
Should we question everything?
We should question some of these
Not just take
underlying.
Oh, we're
problems.
questioning.
Yeah.
No, and I
Yeah.
want you
Yeah.
to. I want you to break us apart because trust me, there would be nothing I would like more than to go back to believing that globe because it was a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I can't. I just can't because I know the truth now, and it's impossible for me to change. Actually, and that's why
What
I'm
we
devoting
feel
my
is
life.
truth.
What
Let's
you feel-
clarify
yeah,
that.
what
Yeah,
you feel
what
is
I
true.
feel is
Truth
truth, right?
yet.
But I believe in it.
I feel like the Earth is hollow, and that's my truth. So.
Yeah, well, I
Exactly.
believe in it enough where I'm devoting my life to bring this message to everybody one-on-one because I don't believe that people believe people on YouTube anymore or anywhere else. That
You gotta
plus
talk
you
to
can't
them in
even trust that the
person.
people you're talking to might not just be government people being staged to take in your story and then, you
Wait,
know.
maybe you guys are government.
No, yeah,
They're throwing us
exactly.
off.
You guys
You know, we've
infiltrating
been
our studio.
complaining about CSIS cutting our feeds. So
Yeah. Well,
it's pretty convenient that you guys show up now.
No.
Yeah,
Our first
but I'm
guest,
just-
eh?
Well, we can assure you we're not government paid.
yeah,
So.
no, far from it. And you know what?
I have a hard time speaking in front of a camera and a mic, let alone working for a government. So
I would say that as CSIS
wasn't an
operatives.
easy decision, but
Question, Andrew?
Time zones.
Yeah.
oh, time
Ooh, that's a good
zones. Yeah, that works the same way either way. I mean, because you consider the time zone is based from that point out. On a flat or a globe, they're still working the same. And you got to think with the closer. Okay, I see where you guys are going because I can see the confusion.
Well,
already.
if we're believing the Earth is spinning, we get time zones
Right.
with a sun that is stationary.
With the sun
towards us.
that has strong enough light to light up the entire half of the Earth. Now, when you're looking at, say, you're in a big warehouse, is there just one light shining and making the whole thing light up, or do they have a whole bunch of different lights? You know, because the radius of the light only goes so far. Just like street lamps on a street. How far does one street light get you before you need
Only a
another
certain
one?
amount,
Same thing with the sun being where it is. It only can shine so far. That's why we see a circular. That's why it's when it's leaving, you can actually see where the sun gets, or the light is diminishing. See, if we had a
Different
Terminator
colors
line, it
as
should be
well.
actually, we should just get the sweeping long black coming over, just like ISS shows from their ISS Live. What they show there doesn't, you go outside and you don't see a big sweeping black line just come straight across. You see the sun leave and it curve in on the corners and it's like a concentrated light leaving you and slowly diminishing and getting into the more redder colors, because if you look at light, the longer the wave, the further it is from its source, the more it gets down into the redder colors because of the Doppler effect. So if your eyes are telling you, you just
So
got to take a look.
Is the sun then like just going like around?
It's going around, but it only has so much radius to where the light hits.
Okay, I hear
the yin yang symbol is think of the yin
kind
yang.
of, yeah.
The moon is the one, the sun is the other, and it's going around, creating that paradigm of light and darkness.
So how would you get? Okay, I think I see where you're going with this. When the moon, like, so when you get like a full moon, how does that work with this? Because what we're told now is that the sun is shining and it's full reflection, right?
Well, like we said, with the experiment so far, what we're finding out is the moonlight is different than the sunlight. So it being a reflected light, off of from the sun off the moon, doesn't fit what we're seeing in our experiments are telling us. So there's something else going on there. Can we tell what it is right now from here? No. We're trying. I explored phosphorus, and then also explored fireflies, which is quite interesting because you look at fireflies, they got two chemicals in them. One's actually called Lucia or Luceria, and the other one's Luciferian. Sorry, all these L's get
Tongue
me.
twister.
Yeah. So Luciferian. So we got Lucifer in there, and these two chemicals actually, when the bug breathes in and acts or puts oxygen on them, that's when they react. Again, we're seeing, and when we look at the moon, it's lunar. We go lunatic at the full moon. That whole paradigm is starting to play out. That these chemicals that we're seeing in the firefly also are in phosphorus. So you look at phosphorus, actually, the name reverts back to Lucifer. It's right there in Wiki. You can look at phosphorus, and they'll say the meaning actually comes from the word Lucifer.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the moon phases, but that's something for another time.
What if it's self-illuminating? That's basically where I'm going.
Because it's self-illuminating, but if that's the case, then why do you see a curved shadow on the moon?
As it's dipping
into
our
face?
atmosphere and coming out, because they do talk about that lateral movement to the apogee and perigee.
There's almost
That
a
it's doing one of these. It's going up and down towards the flat Earth.
What if it's a
Little
phosphorus?
teabagging
What if
action.
it's made out of? What if it's made out of phosphorus and it's just dipping into the oxygen enough where it's starting to gain that effect and it's starting to light up, and as it gets lower, it gets to go and into the full moon, and as it comes back up, it starts to diminish because the oxygen's starting to, of course, diminish away from it.
We
but
can
depending
sit
on
here and theorize on what makes the
exactly.
phases.
Hey, that's what we
on the
do
fire.
here.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Alien
We can sit
theorists.
here-
Yeah.
we can sit here, but all day we can't on
We
the
can't
flat
prove
Earth
it.
model. We can't prove what makes the moon phases. That's why we kind of took the experiment of the radiation or the light,
the temperature.
Yeah.
So because that's as far as we can really go to explaining the moon, right?
Yeah.
Is what we can see and measure. We can't really. So yes, we do see that shadow on the moon, but what explains it? It could be a variety of different things. The ones they gave us is the Earth coming in front of.
It's the umbra of the Earth, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the
their-
theory right
accepted
now.
theory,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, and it's kind of weird when we think about it too. Is if the moon's when it's a full moon, it's actually behind the Earth. The Earth is in the middle of the sun and the moon. Shouldn't in a way shouldn't we see a lunar eclipse every month then? Except for we see a fully lit moon once a month when it's on its far side of the Earth. Because when it's over here in between us and the sun, that's a new moon. That's where it's completely black. So
Yeah.
the full moon is actually on the other side of Earth in their model. So wouldn't the Earth be blocking that full moon? Like people don't even ask that question.
That's the theory. Is the moon is so far away from the Earth that the Earth's shadow, by the time it gets to the moon, is so minuscule that it lights up the whole thing. But I'm not a scientist, right?
Yeah.
That's what they tell us.
Yeah, but then how do we get a lunar eclipse?
A lunar eclipse.
Well, that's where
That
the
is
shadow.
The lunar eclipse.
No,
is
no,
when
no.
It's lunar eclipse is when it is on the other side, directly from the sun.
Yeah. So
Right? Because as the model that we have, the Earth doesn't go in a perfect around the sun, right? It does a kind of like one of these, so that's why you kind of get those
well, it's ecliptic, so it means it's
Yeah.
going out
Yeah.
and in, but it's still on a plane. All the planets are on their plane.
on their own plane.
Yeah, well, on the same plane actually, all the way out. They're not all going different directions around the sun. They're actually we're all on one plane. Go look. They even say the universe is flat.
Well,
Look
if
at
you
the Milky
like
Way
the
and
current
all that.
the current theory that I know is that we're all flying through space, right?
See,
we're
that-
flying through, and we're following the sun.
Oh,
and,
you've seen
and
that
our gravity,
graphic, right? Okay, let's bring that up. Actually, I got a little thing for you, a
just
little
like,
mind
I
puzzle
think
for
it's
you
a cool
guys.
graphic more than anything.
Okay, so if the Earth is going around the sun, right? The Earth is traveling at 67,000 kilometers an hour around that sun, and then you got the moon going around the Earth is only going 3,000 around the Earth. So how is the Earth when it's traveling in its orbit this way? The moon's got to go faster to get ahead of it.
To show
Then and then come back around, stop, go backwards for a bit, and then keep up, and then come back around the backside. Because remember, the Earth is going in one direction. So imagine this: say the sun is the center of a NASCAR track, and the Earth is one of the NASCAR cars. So then, can we put a horse to go around that NASCAR while the NASCAR is going around the sun?
Well, horse.
Well, a horse is a living animal.
No, but the horse. No, but the horse. I'm a relationship to speeds.
in the sense of
You got to understand that the speeds are going backwards. See, it would make more sense if our moon was going faster than the speed of the Earth around
But
the
it's
sun,
not.
but it goes backwards. So you have to believe in their model that the Earth or the moon is going at a slower speed than the Earth is traveling around the sun. And the sun is actually supposed to be traveling around the Milky Way at 10 times that speed. And the Milky Way is going away from the Big Bang at even 2.2 million kilometers an hour. So in theory, we're traveling right now at like some enormous number, like close to light almost. You know, it's crazy. I'll go add them all up. They got one that's from a Big
it's
Bang.
insane. Space is
no,
nuts.
but it's insane because it's not real. Because when you think about it, you can't make that model work. You can't physically.
In theory,
right? Everything's in a theory. So
No,
maybe you
but
say you
you-
can't make it work. Maybe
But
you can.
you know how
Maybe
they
you
make
can't.
it?
I don't
no,
know.
the only way they make it work is by going throwing the law of relativity. They say that the moon to the Earth is separate from. You can't include the moon in looking at the Earth to Sun relationship. You're not allowed to because that's not being relative.
Sure.
No, well, that's what Einstein says. If you guys are happy with that, then fine.
I'm not. I'm open. I'm open for anything.
Yeah,
No, I'm just saying if
I'm
you're
op-
happy with their answer, because that's their answer, is that it's relative.
I just don't know enough about it.
I don't-
to
No,
make
I'm
a-
not.
honestly,
But
I
I'm
don't
letting you
either.
know
Make
from the
an
research that
impartial judgment.
Einstein says to solve that problem, he said it's all relative. But it's not, because then what we're saying is that the sun can hold the Earth. It can hold a planet like
but
Pluto,
not the moon.
but it doesn't make any effect on our moon. The Earth beats out the sun on the moon's gravity.
Doesn't
Like you
make
really
sense.
start to think about their model a little bit and put some logic behind it, you're going to start to see there's a lot of unanswered questions and some things that are just a little bit unbelievable.
Orbital mechanics. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
a good
we
one
went
for
right
me.
to
That was a
celestial-
good one
well,
for me. That
Orbital
really,
mechanics / geomechanics.
Any more questions, or should we get to the Twitter questions?
You know what? Let's get to the Twitter ones. This is
I'm sure I could come up with questions on questions, but
yeah,
this is going long.
yeah, let's.
we usually try to cap them at an hour, but obviously
Yeah.
this one's got a little longer.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
can you, while I'm reading these ones, can you pull up? You know who I'm talking about.
What are you talking? What are you talking
Oh,
about?
buddy, there.
No, I have his questions written down. Vladimir Putin's question there. Of the least
The real Vladimir Putin? Or
yeah,
the-
we think so.
Yeah,
we
he's
think
been following
Could
us on
very well
Twitter.
be.
yeah.
Oh, is that right?
He gave probably one of the most it's funny. Well, he'll read it word for word.
Okay.
Okay, so at Young Fox Mulder, what if? Okay, this isn't more of a question. He's promoting a theory to you guys.
Right.
What if the Earth is flat and it's just the atmosphere that's making the Earth appear round?
That's
Well, we've done research. I've been doing research into perception. We naturally see in an arc.
Yeah.
It's well known, well documented. So a lot of people argue with us about seeing curvature from an airplane, but we got footage that's higher than an airplane showing it as a flat horizon. So there's obviously a mental push towards the perception push, because there is a theory, if you look in perception, that basically as a fresh person, if you don't know your reality, you have to be stimulated, and what they've done is stimulate it with a model, and that's what the theory goes to talk about. Now, basically what they did, and that's why the indoctrination's that young, is they put the model into your brain. So when you go to look out at your world with already a stimulated, activated stimulus, you're going to impose.
You're tricking the eyes,
You're
right?
tricking the eye already by what your brain is pushing on top of it.
Yeah.
just like
Not with what
you
you're
don't know
actually
what's
saying.
in the box, if the cat's dead or alive in the box until you open it, right?
What's in the box?
Same
Yeah.
thing.
What's in
same
the
thing if
box?
you look at the Red
Go
Bull,
ahead,
the Red Bull
Pancho's head.
if you look at like the Red Bull Stratus thing, same thing. Then you guys are saying he gets up there and he looks out and you
Yeah.
can see the curvature.
Well, no, and even when he opens up but the thing is they have the fisheye lenses mounted on all the cameras outside that. But when he opens the door for the first time, it's a wide lens that's inside the capsule. Look at the curvature then. There is none.
A wide lens will make it look flat, and a fisheye will make it look
I
curved.
think wide end stretches an image too. What do you
So
got?
that can go either way on that one.
I did post a video on my Facebook actually just today about your Stratus, the difference or what you're seeing on the video on the Stratus, and there's a guy on YouTube who compared it to a high altitude plane that was lower, or sorry, the ISS, the picture on the ISS. So the Stratus, Felix Baumgartner, went lower than the ISS, but yet in the footage, the curve is greater in Felix's video footage than it is in the ISS footage,
Why?
which shouldn't make sense if
I'd have to look at the cameras and lenses
Yeah.
they use, right?
Right.
Well, but still, I'll throw it out there that high shot, which is validated right from NASA footage, shows you a flat horizon at 300 kilometers up, which is way beyond where he was jumping from. So because he didn't make it up to the stratosphere.
and the camera that's inside the
Wait, a
the modular.
NASA shows a flat horizon?
Yeah, NASA
If
with
it's
it's a
if
joint
if it's such a
operation
big
with Australia.
Conspiracy, wouldn't they just not put that picture out then?
Well, they
It's
released
a quick clip.
Yeah, and they released a documentary on High Shot back in I think I grabbed that one in 1976 was made. So, but it's their footage. But like I was saying earlier, is that remember these guys have been playing this game since '69. They probably didn't realize that we would have the abilities we do now with the internet, our communication levels, that we might be actually smart enough to pick up on this. You know that
They
can
can't
just,
be perfect, right? They
Right.
can't.
And
They
then-
can't show a curve in every
and
to cover all the grounds would be.
Well, and half of their stuff back then, you look, it's produced also coherently with Disney, because all the animation you see in the older movies wasn't our CGI that we
Fucking
see today.
Disney.
No,
Fucking
but it was
Disney.
cartoons. They
Fucking
have
Disney.
you go watch it. The
Those
Apollo
Jew-hating
1
pricks.
documentary. They have clips of everything they can't show real because they don't have a camera there or whatever. They had Disney draw that scene, so you can see the connection between Disney and NASA back then, even.
Why do Disney? Are they Nazis? Is that why
No,
they hate
it's just-
Jews? Why?
could be.
I forget. I always get the.
Was he a
Family
Nazi
Guy.
sympathizer?
I think that's what it
think-
was.
Actually,
I know
I
that
think-
they hate Jews. That's as much as I know.
I think it's well documented he was pretty racist.
No,
Yeah.
big
Definitely
time.
racist.
A lot of those old blackface cartoons.
Well, he had actually Disney went through a strike, an employee strike, where he was actually the government flew him down to South America to do a whole bunch of government films, while they brought in a big heavy hitter union guy, a lawyer, a German lawyer, to come in and settle the dispute. And a lot of disgruntled employees, they actually were saying he was quite racist and that. But then, his best friends come in afterwards said, "Don't believe everything you hear."
Yeah,
but
the white guys.
Hey, but hey, there was a big strike.
Super nice to me,
There's
right?
a big strike with Disney. It's all documented. It shows them throwing stuff at him while he's coming into the gates. So
At Nick the Coon, so we'll go through his here.
he's angry.
Yeah,
Nick the
he's
Coon.
angry.
He's
angry.
He's
Hi,
he's
Nick.
more of our well-spoken guys.
That guy who needs a
sure,
hug.
I'm sure you'll get him on your Twitter and surely be blasting your
that's
questions.
all right.
Why can't you see the whole world from Mount Everest? Boom, fucking round.
Again, atmosphere.
We're just
like
going to bring back our
Yeah.
perception and obviously
it's well documented. Just like jumping in an ocean, you don't expect to see across the ocean because you know that the water has some ability to block your vision over time. It's just imagine, just keep putting a screen door in front of your face. Atmosphere works like that. The only place we're going to see an area where we could see forever, in a sense of a theory, would be in space, where there's nothing in our way. That's why they can explain trillions of light years away is a star that we can see, because of that volume. And from here, because our atmosphere is diminishing to the exosphere quite rapidly, we don't have the same obstruction as we do looking straight across to our horizon, because we're looking through the thickest layer of the atmosphere too when we're down at ground level.
Okay, I'm just to say they have telescopes on Earth that look into space through the atmosphere. So you can look through atmosphere.
They use that light to readjust it too as well. But again, those telescopes, do we have public access to take a look at them? And is it a clear shot? Are we looking to just see a computer screen that's relaying information that has been programmed to come through? Because that's the one thing I'll
get it.
stop and
It
go, you know
all
what?
goes back to their line, right?
Well, not that. No,
Possibly.
I don't want that to be always the case.
You got to see with your eyes. You
Yeah,
got
I
to
want to
see it.
see how they did it, and I would want to see that program. I'm a programmer too. I know my C# and that. I would want to see verify their program so that it's actually not being. It doesn't have programming in there to
Tampered with.
just. Everyone says, "Well, how could they all be in on it?" Well, do you see the guys at NASA? They're all in front of a little computer screen. Who's to say that the guy they don't got other guys sending the information to that screen, faking everything to them, and they don't know any better. They're just taught, hey, if that goes over 240, scream at me. So the guys are just concentrating on 240 the whole time, and we get to think that they're all doing something, and they all think they're doing something. Yet it could be, once we brought in computers, no one could tell, and that's why we don't, a lot of people look at the computer as, I don't get truth from it, because we all know stuff can get doctored through there.
Oh, 100%. Nick the Coon. Stars round the sky, not straight across. Shouldn't they go straight across if it was flat?
You want to answer that? No, what he's talking about is,
Sorry, say that again?
He's saying the stars, as you can watch the trail, the stars round the sky. They don't go
because-
perfectly straight in a straight line. Say like an
well,
airplane.
that's easily answered because the Polaris is centered off the North Pole, and this is where I'll throw back on in a second about Polaris, but everything centers around Polaris, and it works on the flat Earth as it does on the globe, except for that. Remember the speeds of the globe? and the speeds of our solar system moving and stuff like that. So we're moving close to speed of light if you add up all the distances that we're traveling. How is it over thousands of years, and go back to astrolabe, how is that instrument to this date completely accurate on the stars, and we're still spinning around Polaris, which they even say back in the day is what they marked the stars off of, and we're still pointed our North Pole to that star? Is that star just happens to be matching us in that faraway galaxy to keep center on our North Pole? Because you could take a camera, everybody can, face it to the sky, and if you do a time lapse, you're going to see that the stars circle and Polaris stays center. It's the pinion in the disk. It does not move. Every star moves around it. It's actually quite amazing. And actually, when you think about it, if you're on a spinning globe with a camera and the globe spinning, compared to the sky spinning above your head, how do you get the shot anyway of, again, those star trails to come around the center? In my opinion, the only way you can get that shot anyway is if the sky's moving above our head, not the Earth moving underneath, because then that shot should look different. It should look like big sweeping lines because you're on the Earth and your trajectory is being changed by the spin of the Earth. But all these photographers, and there's tons of footages on Google, show this nice, beautiful spiraling going on right above the North Pole. And that's where our Earth is lined up to Polaris. It's actually quite interesting. To me, it's actually more evidence towards the flat Earth than it is the globe.
Nick the Coon's got another one, but first let's read Putin's. You got Putin's. Read it word for word. Putin, get a hold of yourself, bud. Vladimir, let's see.
Can't they bust it instant because they have the things in the sky that go around Earth? I think it's supposed to be Earth and magic stuff.
As soon as you brought in magic, I can.
Does that even make sense?
The fact that he's Russia's biggest politician is just...
Yeah, you know what? I think it's the language barrier that's making that question very hard to understand.
I think he used Google Translate.
That's a bad way to go, Putin. So figure your shit out, bud.
No, I think he's onto
Putin.
something. Magic makes a lot of sense.
Magic.
Done.
The last one we'll go with Nick the Coon because I think it's fitting. Let's touch on it because I'm sure we could go on this one for hours. Why are they hiding it? Why are they hiding this?
Thank you, Nick the Coon.
Why are they hiding
Fucking
it?
dying for
What's
this.
sum it up in a quick minute. Try to wrap it up as best you can.
Well, the way we kind of seen it, and we concluded it ourselves. I know you guys we can all agree that the Bible and all that is been doctored and all that, but the way we came up with it is that they are hiding God. So if number one, like if they don't want us to obey God's rule or to obey his what he wants for us, just to believe in him and all the good morals and whatnot, what would be the best way is to hide God completely and bring in Satan, right? And I think when you see all the evil in the world and all the like the one eye shit in the industries and
Are the two statues actually they're just putting up? Did you guys hear about that new statue they're putting out in New York? They already got one down in I forget the other city because there's one already up that everyone's pissed about. But they're erecting another statue of Baal, and you know who Baal is. That's the other name for Satan. B-A-L, and that's another name for him. But they're erecting another statue of that. Did you know that they can't put the same religious artifacts the other way around in those spots? Like there's a big argument on that down in the States right now, but they're erecting the second one down in New York right now.
There was a mysterious giant erect penis Satan that showed up in Vancouver a couple months back. Did you guys read about that one?
No, but that would fit this paradigm.
He showed up and people were outraged with a giant erect cock. Just showed up.
That's weird.
That's pretty funny.
These are the problems where I'm saying is like, and it goes back to that red light camera. See, I think what's happened is by taking that away from us, taking our divine nature and that we do have a creator, our connection, is that basically everyone runs around thinking they can sin. And they think they get away with it because they don't feel nobody watching them. Now, the thing is when you actually realize where you live, and which, see, a lot of people go, it doesn't matter if it's flat or not. But no, it does, because you'll know when it's flat, when you know and proved it to yourself what you see is right, and actually you're being lied to. When you get into that, the first thought is, well,
there's a creator.
There's got to be someone past that dome. There has to be, because we're in an enclosed world. And you know what? And then when you go, see, for me, I never read the Bible. So I was quite shocked when I went to finally look at it to see if there's any answers there, that Genesis, almost to a T, describes what we're seeing. And I'm dumbfounded.
But
I went from-
how can we take some, like, how can we pick and choose what we want from this book?
Because the
That's
book.
some
Well,
of
look
these-
at this.
I think what's important is taking the word of God and only. I don't know.
But we're not.
Yeah,
we're,
yeah, yeah,
we're
'cause then
taking
Paul-
we're taking
you-
word of man.
Well, no,
who's telling
yeah,
us this is word of God.
Exactly, but you can go back to an older book, the Book of Enoch, which is written back from the Sumerians, and the Sumerians actually wrote about the flood story, but it was with Gilgamesh. So, because I'm starting to look into this book now, and they got the same story. Noah's Ark is just It's like how they keep redoing a movie. You know,
Yeah, we
got
can't
super-
even
That's
begin
what I mean.
to
They're
fucking
going back
talk about
thousands
Noah's
of years,
Ark.
right?
Okay.
That's
Guys, we're running long on this
Yeah,
one.
I
that's
got one
fine,
more
though.
question. I got one more
Okay,
question.
quick, run it in.
Plummet level in gravity on Earth. What gives a flat Earth its pull for we're carpenters, right?
Up is up, down is down.
But if you believe in flat
Density.
Earth, you don't
Density.
believe in a center
No,
mass.
Density explains it all.
Density.
You don't
can
need
be
gravity.
Easily explained.
This here, okay, just wait. We know what molecules
he's holding
are,
up a
right?
coffee cup.
Yeah, I'm going to hold
You
up a
can't
coffee
see.
cup. So this is a solid coffee cup. This
It's
is solid
double
matter.
double.
Double?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
let me-
American listeners and everyone else, it's 2 cream, 2 sugar.
So this is a solid mass. The air here is not a solid mass, but they're both molecules. Well, these molecules are so separated that when you drop it, it's just going to go through it until it hits something that is a little bit more solid mass. The actual force of that falling, though, there is no force. It's just up is up, down is down. Just as much, okay, if there is gravity, how do you explain smoke? Well, smoke rises all the
Yeah.
time. So why isn't gravity pulling that back down? Or why can you take air in a balloon and go down 100 feet? What happens to that balloon? She wants to go to the surface. So there's buoyancy. But say we go down 1,000 feet with that balloon in air. Now you got all this water above, a water column above that balloon. That gravity should be pulling that all down on top of that balloon and holding that in place. But it doesn't happen that way because air doesn't belong there. See, density has these rules. Air has to be above the solid. So air is always going to find its place in life, like place in that density scale. And if you look at density and buoyancy explain everything. You don't need something else beyond that. Actually, every calculation you see is based on density, is based on buoyancy.
So
So
by that
answering,
theory, then so 2-weighted objects. So let's say your bottle of water and that coffee cup. If you were to drop, shouldn't the bottle of water, because it's denser at this point, fall at a faster rate than the coffee cup?
It does when we have air molecules. We got drag and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
but
there's
in
a
a
lot of
vacuum-
other things.
in a
In a
vacuum-
vacuum, they're going to fall the same, and
Yeah.
that's what they showed in their footage. But I don't have a vacuum to go double check NASA on that footage that they
Yeah.
showed us. They're the only guys that have ever built that building, and that footage. If you look, there's a couple discrepancies from the cutscenes. We all do cutting video. We know and we can recognize when something's been altered a bit. And go look at that footage. There's some discrepancies in that
just
footage.
back. My question was more than if I build a bridge,
Right.
and this bridge is let's say 10 kilometers long,
Right.
and I plumb my one side, and I plumb my other side, and I measure the base of those 2 posts, and I measure the top. This is done all the time in engineering school and stuff. The top is always a greater distance, supposedly, because our theory currently is the round globe gives it that slight tilt because the pull of the Earth's center mass puts those 2 poles slightly off each other. And they measure it all the time. It's like they do it all the time. So I was just kind of curious if you guys have heard that question before.
The surveying, it's interesting because they got their one of the books that surfaced that is a part of surveying is the Geopedia, and in the Geopedia, in the first paragraph, they even say that you have to disregard the curve. You basically are got to take everything as level. Everybody that builds the roads and everything like that, they don't take the curve into effect. They only build on a level surface. That's what they're taught from school. It's right in the first paragraph of their thing. Even you look at Microsoft right now, they came out with that flight simulator. Go read the article on it. They couldn't get the instruments. They're trying to make a live game to be reflecting of all the stuff that's happening with the airplane. They actually had to build the game with a level flat ground because the curvature, they couldn't get the measurements all to work with making the plane fly like the instruments really do in life. Just like the gyroscope. Do you know how a gyroscope works?
And
No, but that wasn't really my question.
I have heard. I have heard.
Well, no, I mean, your
have
question
heard
is-
I have heard of what you're talking about, and I'm going to use, for example, the CN Tower. I've never seen that thing as far away as I've been from it and still visible in my sight. I've never seen it on a tilt.
You won't see the
What-
tilt because you're on the same plane, right? So that thing is plumb and you're looking
Just
at
say
it
no,
plumb.
no,
Well, no, not from a distance. I'm not on the same plane. If I'm, say, 30 kilometers away from it, I'm definitely not on the same plane as if it were, unless I'm on a
I don't know the answer to that, but I don't think you'll be able to see the difference. You only can measure it, right?
Well, of course you
If
can.
you had a CN tower here and a CN tower 100 kilometers away, both perfectly plumb, measure the top and bottom, you'll have a different measurement.
Let's
That's
leave
all
it.
I'm saying.
Let's leave it at this. There's experiments that need to be
Yeah,
done.
no, there's
Shit
definitely.
needs to be done.
And these guys are traveling across Canada. They're searching for answers. They're spreading their truth. Find them at flatearthhub.com,
Yep.
Flat Earth Hub on YouTube, at Flat Earth Hub
Yep.
on Twitter. Real quickly, shout out to Sabine and Margaret. Thank you for sending those videos. I hope your cross-country trip from Vegas to Chicago went well.
And don't text me anymore because it's expensive.
Yeah, they found out a way to text Ryan from. They found his number.
Are
So
these the
kudos.
supposed girls that listen to the podcast?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I still don't believe it.
And I'd like to give a quick shout out to Kev, who actually helped us find you guys. So
Yeah, and you guys got anything to plug?
No, just I follow us. I mean, our tour starts in 2 days for one of us, and then the other one's catching up in a month. And it should be quite the interesting trip for everybody because everybody's going to share in this.
We'll be in contact. We definitely want to hear how it's going. We'll keep
100%.
updates. So
And the support's amazing, I tell you. There's a lot of people looking for this truth.
We're theorists. Keep an open mind. Look at all the facts, both sides, and you make your own judgment.
yeah,
sure.
that's all you can do. Okay, that's the pod for the week. Keep those eyes on the skies.
thanks for having us, guys.
Right on.